Warcraft Rumble is a game with a lot of units and very little money to upgrade those units, unless you want to sacrifice your wallet. So here's a video that you maybe shouldn't follow like it's a holy book, but it should reduce any kind of regret coming later. They will not be ranked in any particular order. All 10 of those minis are worth upgrading, and you should maybe build together your main 6 minis that you use, plus maybe probably a leader of every faction or 3 leaders for PvP, but I will be making separate videos about that. Should you be seeking advice for a talent that you would like to use that's not listed in here, definitely check out my channel, maybe subscribe, because I'll be releasing videos going over the different armies, the 5 different armies, and the units they have and what talent you should choose first for each unit. And if you think a crucial unit missed this list, didn't make the list that you think should be in this list, definitely leave it in the comments, because that would also help other new players to make their opinion, make a more informed opinion. And if you just want to mention some honorable mentions, sure, go ahead and do this as well. Everything helps, I'm guessing, in terms of, well, initial game playing regret, which I'm having. I played the game at the start and I spent my initial wave of gold on a bunch of crap. Starting out with a card that I don't leave the house without with. Like, I literally in every deck, Blizzard is a part of it. Simply, it is so out trading, honestly, almost everything. It can be used defensively, it can be used offensively, it can be used to finish enemy boss monsters or bases, it can be used to clear a wave of enemies. And what I don't even have yet is the insane, absolutely insane and frustrating to play against in PvP talent that is the Cold Snap, which is the one you should buy, which is the one I'm hoping for to appear in my shop as soon as I have it on Uncommon, which is freezing the enemy troops in place and for the entire duration of the Blizzard. It's basically winning you the fight, because the duration is 5 seconds, and that's a 5-second stun, 5-second AoE stun. Like, we have to say more. It's absolutely insane. Definitely something for you to work towards, no matter where you are in the game right now. If you start out, buy every Blizzard until you have it on Uncommon and get that freaking upgrade. It's gonna be great for you. The next unit would be the Quillbore. It is only 2 cost tank. That's first of all pretty good to have a tank that is very cheap, and it pairs perfectly with its Unbound ability, meaning you can play it anywhere on the map. Things that I, for example, like to use to distract strong ranged opponents like Ogre Mage or like the Huntress. For example, the enemy Huntress and my ranged unit are about to meet each other. I'm dropping the Quillbore behind the Huntress. The Huntress will turn around, attack my tank that's coming slowly out of the ground, and meanwhile my ranged unit is killing the Huntress. Huntress is or the Ogre are like 5 gold cards, while the Quillbore is 2 gold cards. The Quillbore won't probably even die in the process. Fantastic card. You can also use it obviously to get chests and all, yeah, stuff like this. It's pretty solid overall. When it comes to the talents aren't that crazy, but you should definitely go for the Tunnel Vision, because the Quillbore will not win one-on-one fights, for the simple reason as, like, it's a tank and it's like not an expensive tank, but it will not really, very often not even participate in a fight much, because it takes so long for it to get out of its tunnel, which means it's not an initial spawn, similar like the skeletons who come out of their graves first. This Quillbore will be like coming out to the surface, and in this entire duration it will be able to be attacked, and most of the time it loses the buff half HP. Or also, if you want to capture a treasure chest, the treasure chests, well, it takes too long for it to come out and then grab the treasure chest. The enemy has just much more time to react, which is why I definitely recommend Tunnel Vision. The next unit on the list is the Safe Pilot. Fantastic unit. It is basically used as a spell, and it's a unit afterwards. Most of the time it's not a unit afterwards, because it immediately dies after having the initial explosion damage. So yeah, what it does is comes down, it nukes the enemy. As you can see, it just killed a troll, and the troll is the same amount of cost like her, so we're killing something. And then afterwards we're also having the unit, which is an AoE ranged attacker. Long charge, like a very long charge, but quite a big AoE, and quite a punch. We check here. Decent area damage, really not too bad. Normal range. The troll has a little bit of slightly higher range, I think 9, but Sylvanas, the new hero for example, has 8.5. Pretty normal. The crash damage is really high as well. Takes out most of other ranged units. And the other thing, obviously, it's unbound, so which also means it's fantastic to capture chests because first of all, other things that you try to capture chest with, they have to attack it first. When a safe pilot is landing, the chest is gone. It kills the chest immediately. And what trait should you be using? Well, I said earlier that the safe pilot almost never becomes a unit because after it's landing, it's being killed. Well, it's not the case if you do it with the Gnomish cloaking device. It will be invisible and ambush the opponent, which means it can charge a full attack without being attacked. Unless some AoE shenanigans is happening, it will get the attack, the first attack through, and only then will the enemy be aware of them. So on top of its initial explosion, it will also hit a sweet charged up damage attack. So crash damage being 864 with it being invisible, it will afterwards also hit with a 588. And then even have the minion has to walk towards it. It might even get off a second one. It might even join your army afterwards and be a fantastic backline unit. So just overall insane unit. You should definitely make it a priority. The next unit on my list are Whelp Eggs. Another unbound unit, meaning it can spawn everywhere on the map. When they being hatched, they need to be attacked and then they hatch. And afterwards they are a flying AoE elemental unit. So they do kill other swarms. They are great against, they're great against other swarms if they're attacking them. If they get an attack out, sometimes they don't. You need to be careful with against what you play it. So there is a little bit of a learning curve that needs to be done. But they're just a great unit because flying units can't be attacked by ground melee units, which is already a big deal, which means let's say the enemy slips through the cracks somewhere and, well, it might be an expensive unit like an Abomination or something. The Abomination then has to attack the Whelp Axe first, and afterwards the Whelp Axe will obliterate the melee unit because the melee unit cannot counter any attacks, cannot attack air. Super good defensive, can be used in the midst of battle as well. And there is an additional great thing about them which makes it very viable to drop them on top of the army, which is the talent you should choose. The talent being Flame Burst. They're dealing quite a nice damage when they're hatching. So they are attacking them. You can drop them on top of the enemy. They are going to crack the axe, and when they hatch, they immediately deal damage. They might as well already kill the swarm unit that they're being placed on top of. And then they're just flying along, attacking the enemy base or whatever is comes along their way. Fantastic unit. Well, the next one would be their mom, the Drake. The Drake is just an incredible AoE, somewhat ranged unit. The range is very short, as you see in the video here. It's not crazy, but it will kill other flying units. It will kill bottom swarm units. It will follow the bottom melee unit that can't counterattack. The Drake is almost always a valuable play, and it becomes absolutely like it's a mandatory unit just as Blizzard for me. I have it in every deck. You just have to use it, and it gets even more insane. We were just talking about Whelp Axe. The upgrade, the Mother Drake, is actually periodically summon Whelp Axe. So let's say you spawn the Drake at the start of your base and it walks and walks and walks. It's gonna drop 3 or 4 Whelp Eggs. 3 or 4 Whelp Eggs, 1 Whelp Egg is technically worth a gold, you could say. Maybe the positioning isn't perfect, but literally that path is not gonna be walkable for any melee unit in the future. They're simply going to crack the eggs that the Drake has laid and then get obliterated by the whelps. Also, obviously stopping the advance or being targets while you are maybe a troll comes along and he might be able to snipe the Whelp Axe and then the whelp without getting counterattack. Well, it still takes him 2 attacks that he doesn't attack something else. You could take any sort of precautions, but the people could the enemy could like always slow down and always meet each other to be more vulnerable to a blizzard. All kinds of play available with this insane talent. Must have. Just a must have. Really frustrating to play in PvP, especially since I don't have it yet. The next one is the flying swarm unit, the Harpies. It's literally just what they do. They fly. A swarm unit, they deal a lot of damage because 3 of them, as you can see, they are really great to take down buildings or enemy like boss monsters when there is stuff behind them. They are the really big DPS, honestly. 3 of them, that's 900 DPS on level 11. Pretty insane if we compare it to the Huntress, for example, which is a fantastic unit as well, but its DPS alone is only 306, so it's 3 times the DPS of Huntress for 3 gold. They're obviously very vulnerable. They're very easily to counter, but they shred through the biggest tank in the game, as you can see here, like it's nothing. So when it comes to the talents, pretty interesting talent here. So the best talent, in my opinion, is the Infectious Swipes. They just gain poison. Poison is stacking with multiple attacks, and since there are 3 of them pretty fastly attacking, is stacking up that poison, increasing the damage against boss monsters even more. Fantastic one to take. The talent dive could be interesting, for example, if you say you want to counter enemy Harpies, because Harpies have slightly more HP than they have attack, which means if Harpies on the same level meet each other, they're gonna survive one attack with a slither of health, so the next attack will be the Killing Strike. If they initially deal the most damage, they would kill each other. However, they also die from the after effect of poison, which means poison is enough in those sort of situations to level out the playing field. The talent dive would probably only be the case interesting if you don't expect your Harpies to make it very long. But even then, I think poison might very quickly outdamage it. The other, so I would definitely go poison over talent dive. However, there is one interesting one that is the trinket collectors. They can become miners, and well, as you know, mines can hold 3 gold. There's 3 Harpies, they clear the gold mine just like that. Really, really good. But I would make that a secondary trade should you get the Harpies to rare, and then I would probably choose trinket collectors after having already the Infectious Swipes. Next on the list is the Huntress. The Huntress is, well, just a very strong all-arounder. The Huntress is a ranged unit, it can attack air, it takes care of swarms because its gleaves are jumping from the target. So that makes her somewhat of an AoE unit. And the damage is pretty strong, 428 on level 12. It's also a quite, like, for a ranged unit, rather tanky. You won't be easily taking it out with AoE stuff. You will have to focus some damage on her. It survives, it outtrades most people that it's facing. So really good unit there. Just overall, it's like your all-arounder unit that you can rely on. Very costly though, but definitely someone you will not regret. Also, it's resistant against elements, which means it like outdamages any caster unit that does elemental damage, simply for the fact because resistant like takes 50% damage only from elemental attacks. So even a little bit tanky as a ranged unit, really good. And when it comes to what you should take on the talents, definitely go for the deals 50% to the initial damage, initial damage to the initial target. So that means the enemy they hit first gets 50% more damage, which is a lot of damage. 50%, it's not to be laughed about. It makes her even stronger in dueling when she's not clearing multiple enemies. But overall, the biggest thing about the Huntress is honestly that what we all do is we hide our ranged units behind tank. That's what even the EI does. But the Huntress will attack the tank, then it will bounce to the ranged unit, and then maybe 2 bounces are needed, 2 attacks are needed, and the ranged unit, the actual threat, is done. So the Huntress already killed the ranged unit, and then it's dueling against the tank unit, out-damaging a lot of them as well, and just overall fantastic unit. Another thing that I would maybe recommend is Stealth. Stealth is always just fantastic because it gives you the initial strike, it gives you the well, it gives you the preemptive strike, I guess, an attack before the enemy attacks, which also duels out damages most of the enemies. But I just think that the Elven Might is doing something similar and even better, because it is not only once, but it is for the longer run there as well. But I think Shadow Melt is viable for sure. I just wouldn't go for the Danashian Steel. The next unit is the Gargoyle, which is basically your siege giant from Clash Royale, but flying. Insane amount of health. On top of that, he's armored, meaning he will get 50% less damage from physical attacks. Really good. He has siege damage, which doubles the damage versus towers, and it's only attacking towers, unless in PvE there's a boss monster. It will attack the boss monster. But yeah, that makes him an insane tower killer. It's very often the case that when you maybe try to rush down the... 1 second, there's someone at the door. There's often a situation where you are trying to rush down the enemy turret, and like 3 or 4 of your units do not outdamage that gargoyle that's in your face right now. Like, gargoyles are really, really, really crazy, and they're also not too easy to deal with. And when it comes to the traits, you should definitely go for the increase of movement speed, because it's extremely slow and all you need it to do is actually reach the enemy tower. The obsidian statue is kind of BS, honestly, for its purpose, for its intended purpose. The aerial superiority, I think, is definitely something to be considered in the case of PvE maybe now and then. I like to counter like gargoyles with harpies. Harpies are fantastic at countering gargoyles, so this would be also a good way to do so. But I think honestly, if I am playing a gargoyle, I also will want to protect him from harpies or something with a blizzard. He's a game winner. However, I would not make him initially my complete priority, but I had to put him in here just of how impactful he will be later on. So the next unit is the Stonehoof Tauren, which is, I think, the most reliable tank for you to use overall in the game, simply because it has a charge ability which does a shit ton of damage. Sadly, the game doesn't really give us a clear value of how much damage the charge does, but if we look here, as you can see, it's dealing pretty much 3 times as much as its auto attack. So that's what I gather from the video, which would be insane damage on level 12. It often, I told you that like the Huntress is one of the tankiest ranged units, and it almost like, yeah, it kills 63% honestly of its health, or even more, which means most other ranged units are just dead. It just like that. Like, tanks often have the trouble of closing the gap. Well, this one closes the gap, you know. Maybe know it from World of Warcraft, what the warrior likes to do to close the gap. That's what the Stonehoof Tauren does. And afterwards, he's still fantastic, or she's still a fantastic tank. And the DPS is more on the low side. The health, however, is on the insane side. Like, we are at level 12 with about 5k health. It is not armored or elemental resistant though. That is something to keep in mind, but therefore it has like an overall greater health pool. Now here it's actually kind of rough. We can safely say we don't need Provoke. However, when it comes to Pummel or Momentum, it is really hard for me to choose. Obviously, a 3-second stun of Pummel is insanely good, but Momentum, immediately charging a second time, is also really amazing. Like, you could literally bounce, bam, bam, kill 2 ranged units. Fantastic, both of them. So I would maybe... I would honestly flip a coin. I can't decide myself. Pummel obviously greater against big single targets, while Momentum is greater against multiple enemies, so probably I would probably go for Momentum myself, but I think Momentum and Pummel both absolutely deserve the spot, both of them. I would love to send this one to the comments. What did you guys pick, Pummel or Momentum? Let me know, and let the viewers know. The last unit on my list is gonna surprise a few people, but I think that the Fierce Bandits are pretty insane, because they cost only 1 gold and they are invisible, meaning they won't be attacked. You see in the video, they're taking down the enemy before they can do anything, because when they attack someone from invisible state, they're stunning the enemy. often it's like that they are like they end up not attacking at the same time. If that happens, they will also increase the stun duration. Really cool unit. And the talent now, that's the most interesting part as well, I think. Pick Lock. Earn an extra +2 gold when opening chests. So if you send the Defias to open a chest, you're getting like 4 gold from the chest, and the unit only costs 1. And afterwards they're going to go invisible again. And are still a cool unit to play with. Last Resort, also kinda cool. On death, stun the target for 3 seconds. So another stun yet again. But I think Pick Lock is just overall such a fantastic thing to have, especially in PvP, I believe. Super great to cycle as well, because very often there's like this one unit you need multiple times in PvE. Well, this only costs 1, and they're gonna get the job done, be that defensively or offensively, or just as a resource management unit, getting more gold from the chest. Fantastic unit. They seem to be appearing so rarely in the shop, so when you see them get them to uncommon, get that lockpick, and well, increase your gold in your PvE missions by a substantial amount. My personal honorable mention is the Frostwolf Shaman, simply because he is a healer and he gives one unit the Earth Shield, which is the best in my opinion. They're all interesting, honestly, but the Earth Shield grants armored to a nearby allied unit. Which means I could give the Huntress armored and resistant, so she gets 50% from all sources. Or I could give the Tauren, who doesn't have any armored, with his insane health pool, also armored, and then he has 5,000 health plus only getting 50% from physical. And crazy against the tower, for example, while the Shaman is behind him healing him. Super cool unit. In my opinion, honorable mention, very cool for PvE to stack up multiple of them to actually create that army you need for the final push. But that is a little bit more niche in my opinion, but I wanted to include it as an honorable mention, as an 11th unit. Now, any honorable mentions that you think should be in this video, let me know in the comments. I'm looking forward to this. I will be releasing 1 to 2 videos a day for now. I'm gonna push it out hard. Hope you enjoy it. Leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. I'm also streaming on Twitch. Pharaoh_TV is the channel name there. Stop by and say hi. Peace out.